Summer heat pressed against the windows. Red numbers screamed from every column of the financial reports spread across the mahogany desk. Emma Victoria's fingers trembled as she traced the columns, each one a nail in her family's coffin. 3 weeks, her father Robert said, his voice hollow. Then Victoria Design Group is gone. 40 years, Emma, your grandfather's legacy. 50 families without jobs before the holidays. The 7th floor office felt like a tomb. Outside, Portland buzzed with life. Inside, desperation choked the air. There has to be another way. Emma's voice cracked. She'd spent weeks calling every bank, every investor. Every door had slammed shut. The corruption scandal had destroyed their reputation, guilty only by association. Robert removed his reading glasses. He looked ancient, decades older than 58. There is one way. Emma's stomach dropped at his tone. Dominic Ashford made an offer. He'll clear all our debts, save every job, fund your master's program in Copenhagen. Robert paused. He wants a wife. The words hung between them like an execution order. A wife? Emma's laugh came out bitter. This is the 21st century, Dad. People don't arrange marriages like property transactions. I know. Robert's eyes glistened. But Margaret Chen has 3 kids in college. David Rodriguez supports his elderly parents. Sarah Williams just had twins. If we refuse, they all lose everything. Emma walked to the window, pressing her palm against the glass. At 28, she'd just started making her mark as an environmental architect. She had dreams of transforming sustainable development, of proving ecology and economics could coexist. Now those dreams felt as distant as the mountains on the horizon. What kind of man does this? She whispered. What's wrong with him? He's focused on work. Had a failed engagement 5 years ago. Views this as a practical solution to a practical need. Robert joined her at the window. He doesn't expect love, just mutual respect. A professional partnership. Emma thought of Margaret's homemade cookies on her birthday. David teaching her to read blueprints at 12. Sarah crying happy tears at her graduation. How could she be selfish when 50 lives hung in the balance? How long do I have? He wants an answer by tomorrow evening. If you agree, the wedding happens in 2 weeks. That evening, Emma wandered the Pearl District, historic warehouses converted into galleries and lofts. She stopped at her usual coffee shop, ordering an oat milk latte while her phone buzzed. Jennifer's text glowed on the screen. Your mom called me. This is crazy, Emma. You can't seriously consider this. Emma opened her laptop and searched for Dominic Ashford. Sharp features, dark hair, intense gray-blue eyes that analyzed everything. Photos showed him at construction sites, city council meetings, ribbon cuttings, never at galas, never with a date, always alone, always working. One interview caught her attention. When asked about work-life balance, he'd said, "Balance is a luxury for people without vision. I'm not building a comfortable life. I'm building a legacy." Emma recognized that mindset. Her own relationships had failed because she prioritized career over date nights, ambition over romance. Maybe 2 workaholics could build something functional, even without love. As the coffee shop closed, she made her decision. "Dad," she said when he answered, "tell Dominic Ashford I accept." The silence lasted several heartbeats. "Emma, are you certain? I don't want you sacrificing your happiness. I'm not sacrificing anything. I'm choosing to help people who need it. At worst, I'll have financial security to pursue my architectural vision. At best, we'll see." 3 days later, Emma stood before a floor-length mirror in a navy dress, minimal jewelry, auburn hair pulled into a low bun. Her mother appeared with a velvet box. "Your grandmother's pearl earrings. She wore them when she married your grandfather. It was practical, too. They grew to love each other deeply over 40 years. Mom, I know this seems crazy." Claire smiled through tears. "Life rarely follows our script. Go into this with open eyes and an open heart. Give him a chance. Give yourself a chance to be surprised." The restaurant was upscale Italian, intimate atmosphere, private corner table. Emma arrived exactly on time. Dominic Ashford stood waiting. Over 6 feet tall, lean and athletic in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. Dark hair slightly longer than business fashion. Those gray-blue eyes hit her like a physical force, making her feel visible and vulnerable simultaneously. Emma Victoria. His voice was deep, rough, commanding. He extended his hand. Mr. Ashford. His grip was firm, warm, lasting a moment longer than professional. Dominic, please. Given that we're getting married, formality seems unnecessary. Humor touched his eyes as he helped her into her chair. As they settled, Emma studied his face. Intelligence in his expression, complete focus on her, a small scar above his left eyebrow suggesting a complicated past. Have you been here before? He asked, conversational but gathering data. No. My budget runs more toward food trucks and neighborhood bistros. Something shifted in his expression. A slight relaxation. I appreciate the honesty. Most people in your position would pretend familiarity. I don't see the point in building our arrangement on false pretenses, Emma said, meeting his gaze. If we're doing this, I prefer complete transparency. Agreed. Dominic leaned back, shoulders losing tension. Your father told me about your work, but I want to hear it from you. What do you want from life, Emma? The question surprised her. She'd expected contract terms, not personal aspirations. I want to change how we build. I want to design structures that regenerate rather than deplete, that give back to the environment instead of taking from it. I believe we can create beautiful spaces that actually improve ecological health. Dominic nodded, eyes never leaving her face. Ambitious. Idealistic. Those aren't insults. The construction industry needs visionaries willing to challenge conventional practices. He paused. Have you considered that marrying me might accelerate those goals rather than compromise them? How so? My company is expanding into sustainable development. We need architects who understand both ecological principles and economic realities. Your education combined with the resources I can provide could give you a platform most architects never access. Emma's pulse quickened. She'd expected cold transactions, not someone who understood her vision. You've researched me. Thoroughly. I don't make uninformed decisions. Dominic leaned forward. I'm proposing a partnership, Emma, not a prison sentence. You'll have freedom to pursue your career, your projects, your ambitions. I only ask for your presence at certain business functions and your expertise on sustainable design initiatives. And what do you get from this arrangement? For the first time, something flickered across his face. Something darker, more guarded. Stability, credibility. Someone who understands the demands of building an empire. His jaw tightened. And perhaps someone who won't expect things I can't give. The vulnerability in those words struck her. What things? Dominic's eyes met hers, and for a moment, she saw past the controlled exterior to something wounded underneath. Romance, grand gestures, the fantasy most women expect from marriage. His voice dropped lower. I'm offering you honesty, Emma, respect, partnership, resources to achieve your dreams. But I can't offer you love. That part of me died a long time ago. The confession hung between them, raw and painful. Emma should have felt relieved. This was exactly what she'd expected, what she'd prepared herself for. So why did her chest ache at his words? Then we understand each other, she said quietly. Partnership, transparency, no false expectations. Exactly. Dominic raised his wine glass. To a mutually beneficial arrangement. Emma clinked her glass against his, the sound clear and final. As they discussed details over dinner, logistics, timelines, public appearances, Emma found herself drawn into conversation. Dominic was brilliant, insightful, occasionally funny in a dry, unexpected way. He listened when she spoke, asked thoughtful questions, challenged her ideas without dismissing them. This could work, she thought. This could actually work. The dinner ended late. Dominic walked her to her car, Portland city lights glittering around them. The wedding will be small, he said. Just immediate family and necessary witnesses. I'll handle all arrangements. You focus on closing out your current projects. Dominic, Emma said, turning to face him. Thank you. For being direct, for not making this more complicated than it needs to be. He studied her face in the dim light, something unreadable in his expression. 2 weeks? Emma. Then you become Mrs. Ashford. His hand lifted as if to touch her face, then dropped. I hope you won't regret this decision. Before she could respond, he was gone, disappearing into the night like smoke. Emma drove home with his words echoing in her mind. I hope you won't regret this decision. Why did it sound less like a courtesy and more like a warning? 2 weeks passed in a blur of preparations, paperwork, and mounting anxiety. Emma signed prenuptial agreements, met with Dominic's lawyers, attended a brief engagement party that felt more like a business merger celebration. Throughout it all, Dominic remained courteous but distant. Present but guarded, he texted logistics but never called, sent flowers but never visited, maintained the professional boundary they'd agreed upon. Emma told herself she was relieved. She told herself this was exactly what she wanted. She told herself the hollow feeling in her chest was just pre-wedding jitters. The wedding day arrived with gray skies and threatening rain. The ceremony was held at a boutique hotel, elegant but understated. Emma wore a simple white dress, carried a bouquet of white roses, walked down the aisle to her father's arm. Dominic stood at the altar in a black tuxedo, devastatingly handsome, completely unreadable. The ceremony was brief. Traditional vows spoken without emotion, rings exchanged with mechanical precision. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Dominic's lips barely brushed hers, a perfunctory gesture that felt colder than his absence. Applause echoed through the small gathering. Emma smiled for the cameras, played the role of happy bride, felt like an actress in someone else's story. The reception was short. Toast made, cake cut, first dance completed with Dominic's hand resting formally on her waist, careful not to pull her too close. As the evening wound down, reality hit Emma with suffocating force. Tonight, she would go home with this stranger. Tonight, she would become his wife in every sense. Tonight, her old life would end completely. Dominic's driver took them to his penthouse in the Pearl District, top floor with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The space was modern, minimalist, expensive, and completely impersonal. Like a luxury hotel suite, not a home. "The master bedroom is through there," Dominic said, his voice flat. "Guest room is across the hall. Choose whichever you prefer." Emma set down her small overnight bag. Her hands were shaking. "Dominic, we should probably discuss expectations for tonight." He turned to face her, and something in his expression made her blood run cold. Gone was the controlled businessman from dinner 2 weeks ago. In his place stood someone haunted, tormented, barely holding himself together. "There are no expectations for tonight, Emma." His voice was rough, almost broken. "Go to bed. Lock your door if it makes you feel safer." "I don't understand." Dominic walked to the window, his reflection ghostly in the glass. "This marriage was a mistake. I thought I could do this. I thought I could go through the motions, play the part, build something functional." He laughed, the sound bitter and self-loathing. "But standing at that altar, putting that ring on your finger, I realized I'm not capable of giving you even a fraction of what you deserve." Emma's heart pounded. "What are you saying?" He turned to face her, and the anguish in his eyes stole her breath. "I'm saying this ends tonight." Emma's vision tunneled. The penthouse tilted around her. "Ends tonight?" Her voice came out strangled. "Dominic, what are you talking about? My father already transferred the company shares. The capital injection happened yesterday. 50 people are counting on this. They'll be fine." Dominic's jaw clenched. "The money stays. The jobs are secure. Your father keeps the company. The only thing that ends is this." He gestured between them. "Us. You can't just walk away from a marriage hours after the ceremony." Emma's shock was giving way to anger. "What kind of sick game is this?" "It's not a game." Dominic's voice dropped dangerously low. "It's mercy. Emma laughed, the sound harsh. "You made me stand in front of my family and friends. You made me promise forever. You made me give up every other possibility for my life. And now you call destroying it all mercy. You don't understand." Dominic turned back to the window, his shoulders rigid. "If you stay married to me, I'll destroy you. Not intentionally, but inevitably. Because I'm incapable of being the partner you need. The partner anyone needs." Emma crossed the space between them, fury overriding her fear. "Then why did you propose this arrangement in the first place? Why drag my family into this elaborate charade?" "Because I'm selfish." The confession came out raw. "Because I thought I could compartmentalize. Keep you at arm's length. Use you for appearances while keeping my demons locked away." He finally looked at her, and the pain in his eyes was visceral. But I can't, not with you. What does that mean? Dominic's hand lifted toward her face, hovering inches from her cheek, trembling. It means you're not what I expected. You're not some social climber hungry for wealth. You're brilliant and principled, and you look at me like I might actually be human. His hand dropped, and that terrifies me more than anything in my life ever has. Emma's anger faltered. This wasn't the controlled businessman she'd met at dinner. This was someone breaking apart. Dominic, talk to me. What happened 5 years ago? Your father said you had a failed engagement. His laugh was bitter. Failed. That's diplomatic. He walked to the bar, poured whiskey with shaking hands. Her name was Caroline. We met at Columbia. She was an art history major, beautiful, cultured, from old East Coast money. Everything my mother wanted for me. He drank, the amber liquid disappearing. We got engaged after 2 years. I thought I loved her. I thought I understood what marriage meant. Another drink. Then my father died. Heart attack at 52. And I inherited everything. The company, the debts, the enemies, the pressure. Emma stayed quiet, sensing the words needed to come out like poison from a wound. I became obsessed with saving what he'd built. Worked 18-hour days, missed dinners, missed birthdays, missed everything that mattered to Caroline. Dominic's knuckles whitened around the glass. She tried to understand. God, she tried. But I couldn't stop. Couldn't slow down. Couldn't be what she needed. What happened? I came home one night, 3 months before the wedding. Found her in our bed with my business partner, my best friend. The words were flat, emotionless. She said it was my fault, that I'd abandoned her emotionally, that she'd needed someone who could actually be present. Emma's breath caught. Dominic. The worst part? He finally looked at her. She was right. I had abandoned her. I'd chosen work over everything else, just like I'll choose it over you, over us, over any chance we might have at something real. That's not the same situation, Emma said carefully. I'm not Caroline. I understand career demands. I have my own ambitions. You say that now. Dominic set down the glass with controlled force. But eventually you'll realize you're married to a ghost. Someone who exists in meetings and construction sites and business negotiations, but never truly comes home. Never truly lets anyone in. Maybe I don't need you to let me in completely, Emma said, surprising herself with the truth. Maybe I just need you to stop pushing me away before we've even tried. You deserve more. Don't tell me what I deserve. Emma's voice hardened. I made this choice with full knowledge of what I was getting into. A partnership, mutual respect, shared goals. You promised me those things. Are you backing out because you're scared? Or because you genuinely believe this can't work? Dominic stared at her, something shifting in his expression. I'm scared, he admitted quietly. I'm terrified that I'll fail you the way I failed Caroline. That I'll watch another person I care about grow to resent me, hate me, leave me. So you're leaving first. Taking control of the narrative, ending things on your terms. Yes. The word was barely a whisper. Emma moved closer, close enough to see the fine lines around his eyes, the tension in his jaw, the way his hands fisted at his sides like he was physically restraining himself from reaching for her. That's the most cowardly thing I've ever heard. Dominic flinched as if she'd struck him. We made vows today, Emma continued, her voice low and fierce. Maybe they were just words to you. A performance. But they meant something to me. I don't break my promises, Dominic. I don't run when things get difficult. And I sure as hell don't let other people make decisions about my life without consulting me. Emma, no. You listen to me. She poked his chest, fury and adrenaline coursing through her veins. You want to end this marriage? Fine, but you're going to have to actually end it. File for divorce. Explain to my father why his company is tied to a marriage that lasted 6 hours. Face the 50 people whose jobs you're jeopardizing with your emotional crisis. Own your choice instead of hiding behind noble excuses about protecting me. Dominic caught her wrist, his grip gentle but firm. His eyes blazed with something between anger and admiration. You think you can handle being married to me? You think you're strong enough? I think you're underestimating both of us. The air between them crackled with tension. Dominic's thumb traced the pulse point on her wrist, feeling her heartbeat hammer against his touch. I don't know how to do this, he said, his voice rough. I don't know how to be a husband. I don't know how to let someone matter. Then we figure it out together. Emma's voice softened. That's what partnership means, Dominic. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to stop running. For a long moment, they stood frozen. Emma could see the war happening behind his eyes. The battle between fear and hope, between isolation and connection. Finally, Dominic released her wrist and stepped back. The guest room has fresh linens. Bathroom through the connecting door. If you need anything, text me. I'll be in my office. It wasn't acceptance, but it wasn't rejection either. Dominic, Emma called as he turned away. Thank you. For what? For being honest. For showing me the real you instead of the mask. She managed a small smile. That's more than most marriages get on their wedding night. Something flickered across his face. Surprise. Gratitude. Relief. Then he was gone, disappearing down the hallway, leaving Emma alone in the vast penthouse. She found the guest room exactly as promised. Elegant, impersonal, comfortable. She changed into pajamas, washed her face, stared at her reflection in the mirror. Mrs. Dominic Ashford. The name felt foreign. Like a costume that didn't quite fit. Emma lay in bed, exhaustion pulling at her, but sleep remained elusive. Her phone buzzed. Jennifer's text, "How's married life?" Emma typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on. Complicated, hours passed. Emma drifted in and out of restless sleep, awareness of Dominic somewhere in the penthouse like a live wire in her consciousness. Around 3 a.m, a sound woke her. A cry, muffled but unmistakable. Emma lay frozen, listening. Another sound. Thrashing. A voice thick with distress, words indistinct but tone anguished. Nightmare. She should stay in bed. Respect his space. This wasn't her responsibility. But the sounds continued, and Emma found herself padding down the hallway toward the master bedroom. The door was ajar. Dim light spilled through the crack. She pushed it open slowly. Dominic lay tangled in sheets, his body rigid, face contorted. Sweat gleamed on his skin. He muttered something unintelligible, raw and broken. Emma approached the bed cautiously. Dominic. No response. His breathing was labored, rapid. Dominic, wake up! She touched his shoulder gently and suddenly he was moving. His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist with bruising force. His eyes opened, wild and unseeing. Don't, he gasped. Don't go. Please don't go. I'm here, Emma said, keeping her voice steady despite her racing heart. You're having a nightmare. You're safe. Recognition slowly filtered into his gaze. Horror replaced the confusion. Emma. He released her wrist immediately, scrambling backward. God, did I hurt you? I'm fine. She sat on the edge of the bed. You were dreaming. Dominic's hands shook as he ran them through his hair. You shouldn't be in here. You were calling out. I heard you from the guest room. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you. He was pulling the walls back up, retreating into formality. Dominic, stop. Emma's voice was firm. We just had a massive emotional confrontation hours ago. You don't get to pretend everything's fine now. I have nightmares. Frequently. It's nothing. It's clearly something. Emma studied his face, the lingering terror in his eyes. Was it about Caroline? No. The word came out sharp. Then quieter, my father. The night he died. I keep reliving it, finding him, being too late. The vulnerability in his voice cracked something in Emma's chest. How old were you? 29? Old enough to handle it. Old enough to step up and save the company without falling apart. Old enough to grieve and still be traumatized, Emma corrected gently. Dominic's laugh was hollow. Grief is a luxury I couldn't afford. The company was hemorrhaging money. My father's business partner was embezzling funds. Contractors were threatening lawsuits. I had to be strong, had to be ruthless, had to become someone who didn't feel anything. And you've been that person ever since. Until tonight. His eyes met hers, and the emotion in them was devastating. Until you stood in my penthouse and refused to let me push you away. Until you called me a coward and made me face exactly what I've become. Emma's heart hammered. The intimacy of this moment, sitting on his bed in pajamas while he confessed his deepest wounds, felt more intense than any physical consummation. You're not a coward, Dominic. You're scared. There's a difference, is there? His voice was bitter. I built an empire. I command respect from some of the most powerful people in the country, but I can't face the possibility of letting one person matter. You already let me matter, Emma said softly. That's why you panicked tonight. That's why you tried to end things before they could really begin. Dominic stared at her, and slowly, the defensive tension in his shoulders eased. You're too perceptive for your own good. Architect, we're trained to see structural weaknesses. Emma managed a small smile. Yours is that you care too much and convince yourself you don't care at all. For the first time since the wedding, Dominic's expression softened. Almost smiled. I think this marriage might actually be dangerous for me. Good. Someone needs to knock down those walls you've built. They sat in the dim light, the city glowing beyond the windows, neither speaking but the silence comfortable rather than awkward. Finally, Dominic said, I can't promise I'll be good at this, at being married, at being present. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for effort. That I can give. He paused. Stay. Emma's breath caught. What? In here, tonight. Not for anything physical, he added quickly. But I sleep better when I'm not alone. And I think you might too, after the day we've had. It was the most vulnerable request Emma had ever heard. The most honest thing he'd said all night. She should say no, should maintain boundaries, should protect herself from getting too attached to this complicated, wounded man. Instead, she said, Okay. Dominic's expression flickered with surprise and relief. He moved to one side of the massive bed, leaving her plenty of space. Emma climbed under the covers, hyper-aware of his proximity, the heat of his body, the sound of his breathing. Thank you, Dominic said quietly, for not giving up on this. On me. Thank you for not actually ending it tonight. A long pause. Then, Emma? Yeah? I'm glad you're here. The words were simple, but the emotion behind them was anything but. Emma drifted toward sleep, lulled by exhaustion and the strange comfort of not being alone. Just before unconsciousness claimed her, she felt Dominic's hand find hers in the darkness. His fingers intertwined with hers, tentative but firm, like an anchor, like a promise. Like maybe, just maybe, this impossible marriage might have a chance after all. But as Emma finally slept, she didn't see the way Dominic stared at the ceiling, torment written across his face. She didn't see the way his jaw clenched with some terrible knowledge. She didn't hear him whisper, I'm so sorry for what's coming. Morning light filtered through floor-to-ceiling windows. Emma woke alone, the sheets beside her cold. A note on the pillow read, Emergency meeting. Coffee in the kitchen. Make yourself at home. The handwriting was sharp, controlled. No mention of last night's vulnerability. Emma showered, dressed in clothes she'd packed, and found the kitchen stocked with premium everything. As she poured coffee, her phone rang. Her father. Emma, sweetheart. How are you? The concern in his voice made her throat tight. I'm fine, Dad. You don't sound fine. She couldn't tell him about Dominic's meltdown. Couldn't admit that her marriage almost ended before it began. Just adjusting. It's a lot. I know. Robert paused. Emma, I need to tell you something. Something I should have mentioned before the wedding. Dread pooled in Emma's stomach. What? Dominic's business partner, Marcus Chen. He approached me 3 weeks before Dominic made his proposal. He offered the same deal. Money for a marriage arrangement with his daughter Angela. Emma's hand tightened on the phone. You never mentioned another offer. Because I knew Angela from the country club. She's lovely, but she's not you. She doesn't have your passion for architecture. Your principles, he sighed. But there's something strange, Emma. Marcus called yesterday. He seemed surprised about the wedding. Said Dominic had told him months ago that he'd never remarry. That he was done with personal relationships entirely. What are you saying, Dad? I'm saying Dominic's proposal came out of nowhere. Like he suddenly changed his mind about something fundamental. And Marcus implied there might be reasons beyond what Dominic told us. Emma's coffee turned bitter on her tongue. What kind of reasons? I don't know. But be careful, Emma. There's something Dominic isn't telling you. After the call ended, Emma stood in the pristine kitchen, her mind racing. Why would Dominic suddenly propose a marriage arrangement when he'd spent 5 years avoiding relationships? What changed? Her phone buzzed. Text from Dominic. Lunch at my office at 1. We need to discuss going forward. Professional. Distant. As. If last night's confessions and hand-holding never happened, Emma. Arrived at Ashford Development at 12:55. The building was glass and steel, modern and imposing. The receptionist knew her name, directed her to the penthouse executive floor. Dominic's office was massive. One wall, entirely windows overlooking Portland. His desk positioned like a throne. He stood when she entered, looking every inch the ruthless businessman. Tailored suit, sharp eyes, no trace of the vulnerable man who'd had nightmares. Emma, thank you for coming. You summoned me like an employee. A flicker of something crossed his face. Poor phrasing. I meant it as an invitation. Then perhaps phrase it that way next time. Dominic's lips almost curved. Noted. Please sit. Emma took the chair across from his desk, feeling like she was in a negotiation rather than a marriage. I want to establish expectations going forward, Dominic said, his tone businesslike. Public appearances twice a month. Charity galas, industry events. You'll need an appropriate wardrobe, which I'll fund. A stylist will contact you. I can dress myself. I'm sure you can. But there's a certain standard expected at these functions. Think of it as professional attire for a role. Emma bristled. The role of trophy wife? The role of partner in a major development company. Dominic's voice sharpened. You agreed to this arrangement, Emma. That includes the public-facing elements. I agreed to mutual respect, not to be dressed up like a doll. Then we have different interpretations of what this partnership entails. The coldness in his voice stung. This wasn't the man who'd held her hand last night. This was the fortress, fully rebuilt. What happened to figuring this out together? Emma demanded. To making an effort? Dominic's jaw tightened. I am making an effort. I'm establishing clear boundaries so neither of us gets confused about what this is. What is this, Dominic? A business arrangement. Nothing more. The words landed like physical blows. Emma stood, fury overriding hurt. Then why did you hold my hand last night? Why did you ask me to stay? Why did you look at me like I mattered? Temporary weakness. His voice was ice. It won't happen again. You're unbelievable. You're running again, building walls again. I'm being realistic, Dominic said, standing to match her. Last night I was vulnerable, exposed. I made the mistake of letting you see parts of myself that should remain private. Today, I'm correcting that error. An error? Emma laughed bitterly. That's what you call honesty? Connection? Yes, because connection leads to expectation. Expectation leads to disappointment. I'd rather establish the truth now than hurt you worse later. The truth, Emma said slowly, is that you're a coward after all. You just hide it behind corporate speak and power suits. Dominic's expression turned dangerous. Careful, Emma, or what? You'll divorce me? And this sham you created? She leaned on his desk. Go ahead. I'll survive. But you'll still be exactly what you are. Alone. Scared. Unable to let anyone pass those walls you've spent years perfecting. Silence stretched between them, crackling with tension. Then Dominic's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and something flickered across his face. Something that looked like pain. I need to take this. Of course you do, he answered, turning toward the window. Marcus, now's not a good time. Emma moved toward the door, but Dominic's conversation stopped her. No, I'm not discussing this over the phone. My personal decisions are none of your concern. Pause. That's not what happened, and you know it. His voice dropped, lethal. Don't threaten me, Marcus. You won't like how I respond to threats. He ended the call, jaw clenched, knuckles white around the phone. Problem with your business partner? Emma asked. Dominic's eyes snapped to her, surprised that she was still there. It's handled. Is it? Because he sounded angry. And my father mentioned something interesting this morning. About Marcus making an offer before you did. About you telling Marcus you'd never remarry. Dominic's expression shuddered completely. Your father talks too much. What aren't you telling me, Dominic? Why did you really propose this arrangement? I've been clear about my reasons. No, you've given me corporate explanations, professional justifications, but I don't believe you needed a wife for business appearances. A man like you could date any number of women for public events without committing to marriage. Emma, what changed your mind? What made you suddenly decide a marriage arrangement was necessary? This conversation is over. Answer the question. I said it's over. Dominic's voice turned sharp, commanding. The voice that closed deals and silenced boardrooms. Emma held her ground. I'm your wife, not your employee. You don't get to dismiss me. For a moment, she thought he might actually answer, thought the cracks in his armor might widen enough to reveal the truth. Then his office door opened. A woman walked in without knocking. Tall, elegant blonde hair swept into a perfect chignon. Designer dress. Expensive jewelry. The kind of beauty that graced magazine covers. Dominic, darling. Sorry to interrupt, but you weren't answering your phone, and we need to discuss the Portland Commons project before the council meeting. The woman's eyes slid to Emma. Assessment cold and calculating. Oh, you must be the new wife. Her smile was poisonous. How charming. I'm Caroline. Emma's breath stopped. Caroline, the ex-fiancé. The one who'd cheated. The one who'd destroyed Dominic's faith in relationships. What are you doing here? Dominic's voice was pure fury. Working, darling. I'm the lead historical consultant on Portland Commons. We've been collaborating for 6 months. Surely you remember? Caroline's smile widened. Though I suppose you've been distracted lately. Getting married without telling your business associates was quite the surprise. Emma looked between them. 6 months. Dominic had been working closely with his ex for 6 months. You hired her, Emma said slowly. You brought her back into your life. It's business, Dominic said, but his tone lacked conviction. Business. Emma's laugh was hollow. Like our marriage. Emma, this isn't what you think, isn't it? You've been working with the woman who broke your heart, the woman you claimed destroyed your ability to trust, and you never thought to mention it? Caroline watched the exchange with barely concealed amusement. Oh dear, trouble in paradise already? That's unfortunate, though not surprising, given Dominic's track record with relationships. Get out, Dominic said to Caroline, his voice lethal. We have a meeting in 20 minutes. Reschedule it. Dominic, I said get out. Caroline's expression tightened, but she left, trailing expensive perfume and smug satisfaction. The door closed. Silence descended like a guillotine. How long have you been working with her? Emma asked, her voice eerily calm. It's not relevant. How long, Dominic? 6 months. She approached me about consulting on historical preservation elements for Portland Commons. She's one of the top experts on the West Coast. Hiring her made sense professionally. And personally, there's nothing personal between us. Then why didn't you tell me? Why hide it? Dominic's hands fisted at his sides. Because I knew you'd react exactly like this. Making it into something it's not. Making it into what? A glaring conflict of interest? A massive breach of trust? Emma's voice rose. You proposed marriage to me while working daily with your ex-fiancé. The woman you told me destroyed your faith in love. And you think that's not relevant information? It's business, Emma, just business. Like we're business. Like everything in your life is business. Emma grabbed her purse, hands shaking with fury and betrayal. You know what, Dominic? Maybe you were right last night. Maybe this should end. Because I can't be married to someone who treats honesty like a negotiable commodity. Where are you going? Anywhere but here. Emma walked toward the door. Dominic moved to block her path. Don't leave, please. Why? Give me one good reason to stay. Because despite everything I said, despite how I'm acting, I don't want you to go. The confession stopped her. Emma looked up at his face, saw the war raging behind his eyes. Then stop pushing me away, she said quietly. Stop lying by omission. Stop testing whether I'll abandon you the way Caroline did. How did you know? Because it's obvious. You're sabotaging this before it can fail naturally, creating reasons for me to leave so you can be right about relationships being doomed. Dominic's breath came hard. Maybe I am. Maybe that's exactly what I'm doing. So stop. Choose differently. Let this work. For a moment she thought he might. Thought he might actually lower his defenses and let her in. Then his phone rang again. Marcus. Dominic glanced at the screen, and something in his expression changed. Something desperate. I have to take this. Of course you do. He stepped aside, letting her pass. Emma walked through his office door, through the corporate hallways, into the elevator. She didn't look back. Only when the elevator doors closed did she let the tears fall. Her phone buzzed. Text from Jennifer. Emergency drinks? You sound like you need them, Emma typed back. My husband's ex-fiancé works for him. They've been collaborating for 6 months. He never mentioned it. Jennifer's response was immediate. Coming to get you right now. Location, Emma sent her address, then added, bring wine. Lots of wine. She took a cab back to the penthouse, needing distance from Dominic's office and Caroline's smug face. The space felt colder in daylight, more like a museum than a home. Emma changed into comfortable clothes, poured herself a glass of water, and tried to make sense of the last 24 hours. Dominic's vulnerability last night. His coldness today, the revelation about Caroline, Marcus's threatening phone call, her father's warning, none of it added up. What aren't you telling me, Dominic? The question echoed in the empty penthouse, unanswered. An hour later, Jennifer arrived with 2 bottles of wine and a fierce expression. Where is he? I'm going to kill him. Killing him won't help. It'll make me feel better. Jennifer poured wine into large glasses. Okay, start from the beginning. How bad was the wedding night? Emma told her everything. Dominic's meltdown, his nightmare, the hand-holding, the morning's coldness, Caroline's appearance. Jennifer listened, her expression darkening with each revelation. Emma, she said carefully when the story ended, I need you to consider something. What if Dominic married you specifically because of Caroline? What do you mean? Think about it. Ex-fiancé breaks his heart. He swears off relationships. Then suddenly she comes back into his professional life. 6 months later, he proposes a marriage arrangement out of nowhere. Jennifer leaned forward. What if he needed a wife to prove something to her? To show he'd moved on? The words hit Emma like ice water. You think I'm a prop in some revenge scheme? I think there's more going on than Dominic is admitting. And I think you deserve to know the truth before you get hurt worse. Emma's hands trembled around her wine glass. How do I find out? Confront him. Demand answers. And if he won't give them, walk away. I can't. My father's company is secure. Dominic promised the money stays regardless. He said so himself last night. Jennifer gripped Emma's hand. You can't sacrifice your entire life for a man who won't even be honest with you. Your dad wouldn't want that. Emma knew Jennifer was right, but the thought of leaving, of admitting defeat after one day, felt like failure. Her phone buzzed. Text from Dominic. I'm sorry. Please come back to the office. We need to talk. Jennifer read the message over her shoulder. Don't go. Make him come to you. Make him work for your forgiveness. Emma stared at the text, torn between anger and the memory of Dominic's broken voice last night. I don't want you to go. Before she could respond, her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Ashford? This is Dr. Patterson from Portland General Hospital. The voice was professional, urgent. Your husband has been in an accident. You need to come immediately. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and fear. Emma ran through sterile corridors, Jennifer close behind her. A nurse directed them to the ICU waiting room. Mrs. Ashford. Dr. Patterson was young, exhausted, sympathetic. Your husband was in a car accident on Highway 26. Another vehicle struck his car head-on. He's in surgery now. Emma's legs nearly gave out. Jennifer caught her elbow. How bad is it? Emma's voice sounded distant, not her own. Significant internal injuries. Broken ribs. Possible concussion. The next few hours are critical. Dr. Patterson's expression softened. He was conscious when they brought him in. He kept asking for you. Said he needed to tell you something important. The words twisted in Emma's chest. Hours ago she'd been furious with him, ready to walk away. Now he might die before she could hear whatever truth he'd been hiding. Can I see him? As soon as he's out of surgery? It could be several hours. There's a waiting room down the hall. The next 4 hours were torture. Emma sat paced again. Jennifer brought terrible coffee from vending machines. Other families came and went, their private tragedies playing out in hushed conversations and silent tears. Emma's phone buzzed repeatedly. Her mother, her father, Dominic's assistant. She ignored them all, unable to form words around the terror lodged in her throat. Finally, Dr. Patterson returned. The surgery went well. He's stable. You can see him now, but he's heavily sedated. He may not be fully conscious. Emma followed the doctor to a private room. Machines beeped softly. Dominic lay motionless in the bed, face pale beneath bruises, tubes and wires connecting him to various monitors. He looked vulnerable, broken. Nothing like the fortress who'd dismissed her from his office. Emma sat in the chair beside his bed, taking his hand carefully. His fingers were cold. "You're an idiot," she whispered, running off angry. Probably driving too fast, probably distracted. His eyes remained closed. The ventilator hissed rhythmically. "You don't get to die, Dominic. Not before telling me the truth. Not before we figure out what this marriage actually means." No response. Just the machines keeping him alive. Emma stayed through the night. Jennifer brought her food she couldn't eat, a change of clothes she didn't wear. Nurses checked vitals, adjusted medications, spoke in soft professional tones. Around 3 a.m., Dominic stirred. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused and confused. "Emma?" His voice was rough, barely audible. "I'm here." She leaned closer. "Don't try to move. You were in an accident." "I know." He winced. "Hurt like hell." His eyes found hers, and even through the pain medication, she saw clarity. "I need to tell you something. Before anyone else does, it can wait. You need to rest." "No, it can't." His grip on her hand tightened weakly. "The accident wasn't an accident." Emma's blood turned cold. "What?" "Someone tampered with my brakes. Police found evidence at the scene." Each word seemed to cost him. "Marcus, it was Marcus. Your business partner tried to kill you?" "Not kill, scare, warn." Dominic's breathing labored. "There's something you need to know. About why I married you. About Caroline. About everything." The door opened. A nurse entered, checking monitors. "Mr. Ashford, your heart rate is elevated. You need to calm down." 5 minutes, Dominic said, his voice stronger. "Please." The nurse hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. "Then you rest." After she left, Dominic turned back to Emma. "Caroline didn't cheat on me." The words hung in the air, incomprehensible. "What are you talking about? You said you found her with your business partner." "I found her with Marcus. He staged it to look like an affair." Dominic's eyes closed briefly. "I discovered 2 weeks ago. Marcus had been embezzling from the company. He knew I was getting close to finding out. He needed to destroy my relationship with Caroline, make me too emotional to see his financial manipulations." Emma's mind reeled. "Caroline was innocent?" "Yes. She tried to tell me, but I was so angry, so convinced of the betrayal, I wouldn't listen. She left Portland, moved to Boston, built a new career." Pain crossed Dominic's face. "I destroyed an innocent person's life because I believed what Marcus wanted me to believe." "Why is she back?" "Because I asked her to come back. 6 months ago, when I finally discovered the truth, I reached out, apologized, offered her a consulting position to make amends." Dominic's voice dropped. "She accepted. But Marcus found out. He threatened to destroy my company, reveal forged documents that make me look guilty of fraud unless I gave him majority control." The pieces clicked into place. "So you needed a wife to secure your reputation, to look stable and trustworthy while you fought Marcus legally?" "No." Dominic's eyes met hers, and the emotion in them stole her breath. "I married you because Marcus threatened to hurt anyone I cared about, anyone who mattered to me. And after I met you at that dinner, after I saw your passion and your strength, I knew you were in danger just from being associated with me." Emma's world tilted. "You married me to protect me?" "I married you because Victoria Design Group was vulnerable. Marcus knew your father needed capital. He was planning to make his own offer, marry Angela to gain access to your company's sustainable development patents, then use those patents to make himself indispensable to my business." Dominic's breathing grew more labored. "I couldn't let him control another innocent person's life. So I made my offer first, protected your family's company, made you legally mine so Marcus couldn't touch you. Why didn't you just tell me? Because if you knew the danger, you'd have refused. You'd have tried to handle Marcus yourself. You'd have become a target. His grip on her hand tightened. I thought I could handle it quietly. Gather evidence against Marcus. Have him arrested before he could retaliate. But he moved faster than I expected. Tears burned Emma's eyes. So last night, when you tried to end the marriage, I panicked. Realized that by marrying you, I'd put you in more danger, not less. Marcus knows I care about you. Knows you're my weakness now. Dominic's voice cracked. I tried to push you away to keep you safe. But I couldn't. Even knowing the risk, I couldn't let you go. You idiot. Emma's tears fell freely. You absolute idiot. You should have trusted me with the truth. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The door opened again. The nurse, firm this time. Mrs. Ashford, he needs to rest now. Emma stood, but Dominic's hand held hers. One more thing. Please. The nurse sighed but nodded. There's a safe in my office, behind the painting of Mount Hood. Code is 0414, your birthday. Dominic's eyes never left Emma's face. Inside is all the evidence against Marcus. Financial records, recordings of his threats, proof of the brake tampering. If something happens to me, give it to Detective Morrison at Portland PD. Nothing's going to happen to you. Emma. His voice was gentle but firm. Promise me. Promise you'll expose him if I can't. I promise. And promise me you'll leave Portland if things get worse. Take your family somewhere safe. Don't try to fight him yourself. Dominic. Promise me. Emma wanted to argue, to refuse, but the desperation in his eyes stopped her. I promise. He relaxed slightly. Thank you. For everything. For not giving up on me. For staying even when I tried to push you away. His eyes closed. Exhaustion winning. I'm sorry I couldn't give you the marriage you deserved. You're not dying, you dramatic idiot. We'll have plenty of time to work on our marriage after you recover. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. I hope so. The nurse ushered Emma out. He needs rest. You can come back in the morning. Emma walked to the waiting room in a daze. Jennifer stood immediately. What happened? Emma told her everything. Marcus's manipulation, Caroline's innocence, the threats, the accident that wasn't an accident. Jennifer's expression turned grim. Emma, you need to go to the police right now. I need to get the evidence from Dominic's office first. Then let's go. Now, before Marcus realizes Dominic told you everything. They took Jennifer's car, driving through empty pre-dawn streets. Emma's mind raced with implications. Marcus had destroyed Dominic's relationship with Caroline, had embezzled millions, had tampered with Dominic's brakes. What else was he capable of? They reached Ashford Development. The building was dark, security minimal at this hour. Emma used Dominic's keycard, still in her purse from yesterday. The executive floor was silent, ghostly. Emma walked to Dominic's office, her footsteps echoing. Behind the painting of Mount Hood was indeed a safe. She entered the code 0414, her birthday. He'd used her birthday. The safe opened. Inside were folders, USB drives, a handgun she didn't expect. Emma gathered the evidence, hands shaking. This was it. Proof that would destroy Marcus. Save Dominic's company. End the nightmare. Well, this is unfortunate. Emma spun around. Marcus Chen stood in the doorway, blocking their exit. He looked calm, almost bored. How did you know we were here? Jennifer demanded. Silent alarm on the safe. Sends a notification to my phone. Marcus walked into the office casually. I had hoped Dominic would die before telling you everything. Would have saved me considerable trouble. You tried to kill him, Emma said, rage overriding fear. I tried to scare him into submission. The accident was meant to injure, not kill, though if he had died it would have simplified things considerably. Marcus smiled. Unfortunately, he survived. And now you know everything, which creates a problem for me. The police know everything too, Emma lied. We already contacted them. No, you didn't. If you had, they'd be here instead of you sneaking around in the middle of the night. Marcus pulled a gun from his jacket. Not theatrical, just practical. Put down the evidence, Emma. Let's discuss this rationally. Jennifer moved closer to Emma. There's nothing to discuss. You're caught. Give it up, am I? Because from where I stand, I have a gun, and you have folders that could be anything. Dominic's word against mine. And Dominic is currently incapacitated in the hospital. unable to testify against me. Those USB drives contain recordings of your threats, Emma said. Financial records proving embezzlement. Mechanical reports proving brake tampering. Your voice. Your fingerprints. Something flickered in Marcus's expression. Uncertainty. Then I'll take those USB drives, destroy the evidence, and your word becomes meaningless against mine. Except we uploaded copies to the cloud before we came here, Jennifer said smoothly. Sent them to multiple email addresses, including the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. It was a bluff. They hadn't had time. But Marcus didn't know that. His gun hand wavered slightly. You're lying, are we? Want to risk finding out? Jennifer's voice was confident, but Emma felt her trembling. Put down the gun, Marcus. It's over. For a long moment, no one moved. Marcus calculated odds, assessed options. His finger tightened on the trigger. Then voices echoed from the hallway. Security guards responding to the alarm. Marcus's expression turned furious. This isn't over, Emma. I will destroy Dominic. And I'll destroy you for interfering. He ran, disappearing through a side exit before security arrived. The guards found Emma and Jennifer standing in Dominic's office, evidence scattered around them, both shaking with adrenaline. Mrs. Ashford, is everything all right? Emma looked at Jennifer, at the evidence, at the empty doorway where Marcus had vanished. No, she said quietly, but it will be. 2 hours later, Emma sat in a police station, giving her statement to Detective Morrison. She handed over the evidence, explained everything Dominic had told her, described Marcus's threats. Morrison listened carefully, taking notes. This is substantial. We'll issue a warrant for Marcus Chen immediately. Can you think of anywhere he might go? His daughter Angela lives in Seattle. He has business contacts throughout the West Coast. Emma rubbed her temples, exhaustion hitting like a physical weight. Detective, Dominic thought Marcus might target me or my family. Is there protection available? We'll put officers at your family's home and at the hospital. You should stay somewhere Marcus doesn't know about. Jennifer spoke up. She can stay with me. I'm in Beaverton. Marcus doesn't know my address. After giving the rest of her statement, Emma and Jennifer left the station. Dawn was breaking, painting Portland in shades of gold and gray. I need to go back to the hospital, Emma said. Tell Dominic what happened. I'll drive you. At Portland General, Dominic was awake but groggy. His eyes found Emma immediately when she entered. Did you get the evidence? I got it. Gave it to Detective Morrison. They're issuing a warrant for Marcus. Relief flooded Dominic's face. Thank God. And you're safe? He didn't hurt you? Emma told him about Marcus appearing in the office, the confrontation, the threats. Dominic's expression darkened with each word. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I brought this into your life. You saved my father's company, protected my family from Marcus's manipulation. You made difficult choices to keep people safe. Emma took his hand. That's not something to apologize for. I should have trusted you with the truth from the beginning. Yes, you should have. But I understand why you didn't. Emma managed a weak smile. We both made mistakes. We both have things to work on. Dominic's thumb traced circles on her palm. When I get out of here, I want to start over. Do this right. Be honest with you about everything. I'd like that. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Dominic said, There's one more thing you need to know. Emma's stomach clenched. What? Caroline. She knows the truth about our marriage. About Marcus's threats. She's been helping me gather evidence against him for months. He paused. She came to the hospital last night before the surgery. Wanted to apologize for her cold behavior yesterday. She was protecting the investigation, maintaining the appearance of tension between us. So she's not actually your ex trying to cause problems. She's my friend, someone I wronged terribly, who's somehow found it in herself to help me anyway. Dominic's eyes met Emma's. She wants to meet with you, properly. Explain her side of things. Think I'd like that. Really? Really. She's been through hell because of Marcus's manipulation, and she's been helping you fight him. That makes her an ally, not a threat. Dominic's expression softened. How are you this understanding? This forgiving? Because I'm not perfect either. Because relationships require grace. Emma squeezed his hand. And because despite everything, despite the lies and the danger and the absolute disaster of our first day of marriage, I still want to make this work. Even knowing what you're getting into now? The legal battles ahead? The possibility that Marcus might not go quietly? Especially knowing that. Because now I understand who you really are, Dominic. Not the cold businessman. Not the fortress. The man who sacrifices himself to protect others. Who takes on impossible burdens alone because he doesn't want anyone else to suffer. Tears glistened in Dominic's eyes. I don't deserve you. Maybe not. But you're stuck with me anyway. Emma leaned closer. For better or worse, remember? We said those words yesterday. I meant them. So did I. His voice was barely a whisper. More than I realized until I thought I might lose you. The moment stretched between them, intimate and raw. Emma wanted to kiss him but held back, uncertain if it was the right time. Then Dominic's hand cupped her cheek, pulling her closer. Emma, may I kiss you? Properly this time. Not the performance at the altar, but something real. Her heart hammered. Yes. His lips met hers gently, carefully, as if she might shatter. The kiss was soft and searching, nothing like the perfunctory brush at their wedding. Emma's hand found his hair, deepening the contact, tasting pain medication and something essentially him. When they finally parted, both were breathless. Worth waiting for, Dominic murmured against her lips. Definitely worth it. A nurse cleared her throat from the doorway. Visiting hours are over, Mrs. Ashford. Mr. Ashford needs rest. Emma stood reluctantly. I'll come back tomorrow. Emma. Dominic caught her hand. Be careful. Until Marcus is in custody, assume he's dangerous. I will. You focus on recovery. In the hallway, Emma's phone buzzed. Unknown number, she answered cautiously. Mrs. Ashford, this is Officer Reynolds. I'm stationed at your parents' home. Your father asked me to call you. He says it's urgent. Dread flooded Emma's veins. What's wrong? Someone broke into Victoria Design Group offices tonight. Extensive damage. Files destroyed. Your father wants you to meet him there. Emma's world tilted. Marcus. It had to be Marcus. Retaliating the only way he could. I'm on my way. She ran to find Jennifer, explained the situation. They drove to the office together, Emma's mind racing with worst-case scenarios. What they found was devastation. Windows shattered. Desks overturned. Files scattered everywhere. Some shredded, some burned. Robert stood in the center of the chaos, looking decades older. Dad. Emma hugged him. Are you okay? I'm fine. I wasn't here when it happened. But Emma, 40 years of work. Your grandfather's legacy. It's destroyed. Emma looked around at the wreckage. Architectural plans torn to pieces. Project files irreparably damaged. Computer servers smashed. It was Marcus, she said quietly. He's lashing out. The police think so too. They found a message spray-painted in my office. Robert's voice shook. It says, "Tell your daughter to back off." Jennifer wrapped an arm around Emma. We need to get you somewhere safe. Now. But Emma stared at the destruction. Fury building where fear should be. Marcus thought he could intimidate her. Thought he could destroy everything she cared about. He had no idea what he'd unleashed. No, Emma said, her voice hard. We're not running. We're finishing this. Emma stood in the ruins of her family's legacy, something crystallizing inside her. Marcus had spent years manipulating people, destroying lives, hiding behind corporate respectability. He'd shattered Dominic and Caroline's relationship, embezzled millions, nearly killed Dominic. Now he'd vandalized her father's company. Enough. Detective Morrison, Emma said when he answered her call. I want to help catch Marcus. What do I need to do? 3 hours later, Emma wore a wire. Detective Morrison briefed her in an unmarked van outside Marcus's downtown condo. He'll run when he realizes the evidence is with police, Morrison explained. But if he thinks you'll trade the USB drives for your family's safety, he might arrange a meeting. That's when we grab him. How do I make him believe I'll cooperate? Call him. Say you understand he's just protecting his interests, that you want to negotiate. Use your father's destroyed office as leverage. Say you can't handle more violence. Jennifer gripped Emma's hand. You don't have to do this. The police can catch him without you. He threatened my family, hurt Dominic, destroyed my father's company. Emma's voice was steel. I'm finishing this. She dialed Marcus's number. He answered on the third ring, wary. "Mrs. Ashford, I didn't expect to hear from you. We need to talk. About the evidence. About ending this before anyone else gets hurt." Silence. Then, "I'm listening. My father's office was destroyed last night. You made your point. I understand you're protecting yourself." Emma forced her voice to shake convincingly. "I can't handle more violence. Can't risk my family getting caught in this. So you're willing to negotiate. I'm willing to make a trade. The USB drives and physical evidence for your guarantee that you'll leave my family alone. Leave Dominic alone. Disappear and let us rebuild our lives." More silence. Marcus was calculating, assessing whether this was a trap. "How do I know you haven't made copies?" "Because I'm not stupid. Copies give you motivation to keep coming after us. I want this over, Marcus. Permanently. The original USB drives. All physical documents. Nothing held back. In exchange for your written guarantee to leave the country and never contact any of us again." "Where and when?" "Tonight, midnight, the construction site at Portland Commons. Neutral ground. Come alone. You come alone too. If I see police, the deal is off and your family pays the price." The call ended. Emma removed the wire with shaking hands. "He's going to show," Morrison said. "We'll have officers positioned around the site. Hidden. As soon as he admits to anything incriminating, we move in." What if he doesn't confess? What if he just takes the fake USB drives and runs? Then we follow him. Eventually he'll slip up. Morrison's expression was serious. "Mrs. Ashford, this is dangerous." Marcus is desperate. Desperate people do unpredictable things. "I know, but this is the only way to protect everyone I care about." Jennifer drove Emma back to the hospital. Dominic was sitting up, looking significantly better, though still pale and bruised. "Emma, I was worried when you didn't come back this morning." She told him everything. The destroyed office. The plan to trap Marcus. The midnight meeting. Dominic's expression turned furious. "Absolutely not. You're not putting yourself in danger. It's already done." He agreed to meet. "Then I'm coming with you. You can barely sit up. You're not going anywhere." Emma took his hand. "Dominic, I need to do this. For my family, for you, for everyone Marcus has hurt. Let the police handle it. They need him to confess, to incriminate himself on record. That requires someone he's willing to talk to." Emma's voice softened. "I can do this. I'm stronger than you think. I know how strong you are." Dominic's thumb traced her knuckles. "That's not the issue. The issue is that if something happens to you, I'll never forgive myself. Nothing's going to happen. Police will be everywhere. The second Marcus says something incriminating, they'll move in. Emma, I need you to trust me. The way I'm trusting you to tell me the complete truth from now on. No more secrets. No more protective lies." Dominic stared at her, then slowly nodded. "No more secrets. No more lies." He pulled her closer. "But after tonight, you're never doing anything this dangerous again. We're going to be the most boring married couple in Portland. Quiet dinners, Netflix, early bedtimes." Emma laughed despite the tension. "I'll hold you to that." She kissed him, trying to pour every unsaid feeling into the contact. When they parted, Dominic's eyes were wet. "Come back to me," he whispered. "Please come back to me. I will." "I promise." Midnight approached. Emma stood at the Portland Commons construction site, surrounded by skeletal steel frames and scattered equipment. The city glowed in the distance, beautiful and indifferent to the drama unfolding in its shadows. She wore the wire again. Carried a bag containing dummy USB drives and fabricated documents. Police were positioned around the perimeter, invisible but present. Headlights appeared. A car pulled up. Marcus emerged, looking calm and collected despite being a fugitive. "Mrs. Ashford." Punctual as expected. "I want this over with, Marcus." He walked closer, stopping about 10 feet away. "You have the evidence?" Emma held up the bag. "Everything. USB drives with recordings and financial records, physical documents proving embezzlement, mechanical reports about the brake tampering. It's all here. How do I know it's real? Because I want you gone more than I want revenge. Take it and disappear. Leave my family alone. That's all I'm asking." Marcus studied her, and Emma forced herself to remain calm under his scrutiny. "You know," he said slowly, "I almost admire you. Most people would have run, would have let Dominic handle this alone. But you're here, Negotiating like a professional. I protect what's mine. Dominic's lucky. Caroline never fought for him like this. Marcus took a step closer. Did he tell you the full story about Caroline? About how I orchestrated their breakup? He told me you staged an affair. Made him think Caroline betrayed him. It was brilliant, really. A few staged photos. A carefully timed confession from Caroline that I coached her on, making it sound guilty when she was actually trying to explain my embezzlement. Marcus smiled coldly. Dominic was so consumed by hurt and betrayal he never questioned the narrative. Never asked for her side of the story. Just destroyed her life and moved on. The wire was recording every word. Keep him talking, Emma thought. Why did you do it? Why destroy their relationship? Because I needed Dominic unstable, emotional, distracted from my financial manipulations. Marcus's voice was matter-of-fact, as if discussing business strategy. Heartbreak makes people sloppy, makes them miss details. For 5 years, it worked perfectly. Then Caroline came back, and Dominic started asking questions again. So you threatened him, tampered with his brakes. I warned him. There's a difference. Marcus shrugged. I built half of Ashford Development's success. My strategies, my connections, my risk-taking. But Dominic's name was on the building. He got the credit while I did the work. I simply took what I'd earned. By embezzling millions. By claiming my fair share. His expression hardened. Now give me the evidence, Emma, before I lose patience. Emma held the bag tighter. Written guarantee first, that you'll leave the country. Never contact us again. You have my word. Your word means nothing. I want it in writing. Marcus pulled out his phone, typed something, held up the screen. There, signed digitally, legally binding. Now the evidence. Emma took a step forward, then stopped. Something in Marcus's posture was wrong. Too relaxed, too confident. You're not planning to disappear, are you? She said slowly. You're planning to kill me. Take the evidence. Frame it like I came here alone and you defended yourself. Marcus's smile was chilling. You're smarter than I expected. Yes, that's exactly the plan. Can't have you testifying against me in court. He pulled a gun from his jacket, not the one from Dominic's office. A different weapon. The police are here, Emma said, trying to keep her voice steady. You won't make it out. There are no police. I had someone sweep the area before I arrived. You came alone, just like you promised. Marcus aimed the gun at her chest. Pity. Dominic finally found someone worth caring about. And now she's going to die because she couldn't leave well enough alone. Drop the weapon. Floodlights blazed. Police emerged from everywhere, guns drawn. Marcus spun, surprised, and Emma dove behind a concrete barrier. Marcus Chen, drop your weapon and get on the ground. For a moment, Emma thought he might comply. Then Marcus's expression turned defiant. He raised his gun toward the officers. Emma didn't think. She launched herself at Marcus, hitting him low and hard. The gun fired, the shot going wild. They crashed to the ground together, Marcus trying to aim again. Then officers were there, pulling Marcus away, wrestling the gun from his grip. Emma lay on the ground, breathing hard, adrenaline crashing through her system. Detective Morrison helped her up. Mrs. Ashford, are you injured? I'm fine. Did you get everything? Every word. His confession to embezzlement, to manipulating Dominic and Caroline's relationship, to tampering with the brakes. It's all on record. Morrison smiled grimly. Marcus Chen is going away for a very long time. Emma watched as officers cuffed Marcus, read him his rights, loaded him into a patrol car. He stared at her through the window, fury and disbelief in his eyes. She'd won. They'd won. At the hospital, Dominic was still awake despite the late hour, sitting up anxiously. When Emma walked in unharmed, he exhaled with visible relief. Thank God. When I heard shots fired on the police radio, I thought I'd lost you. I'm fine. Marcus is in custody. It's over. Dominic pulled her into his arms, careful of his injuries but needing the contact. You're never doing anything that dangerous again. I'm serious. We're buying a house in the suburbs and adopting cats. Emma laughed against his shoulder. Sounds perfect. They held each other, the enormity of the last 2 days finally settling. A marriage that began as a transaction had become something real through crisis and danger. They'd lied, fought, protected each other, and somehow found truth in the chaos. I love you, Dominic said quietly. I know it's fast. I know we barely know each other, but somewhere between the wedding and tonight, I fell completely in love with you. Emma pulled back to look at his face. I love you too, even though you're dramatic and self-sacrificing and terrible at communication. I'll work on that. On all of it. Dominic cupped her face. I promise to be better. To be honest. To let you in even when it's terrifying. And I promise to call you on your nonsense. To not let you push me away. To fight for us even when you're convinced we're doomed. They kissed, soft and deep. A promise more binding than any vows. The next morning, Caroline visited the hospital. She was different than her office appearance. Warmer, more genuine. She hugged Emma carefully. Thank you for exposing Marcus. For believing Dominic when he told you the truth about our past. Thank you for helping him gather evidence. For forgiving him even after what happened. Caroline smiled. Dominic and I were never meant to be together romantically. But we make good friends. And I'm glad he found someone who matches his intensity. She glanced at Dominic. Take care of him, Emma. He acts like he doesn't need anyone, but he does. He needs you. I know. And he's stuck with me now. Over the following weeks, Emma moved her things into Dominic's penthouse. They talked for hours, filling in gaps in their knowledge of each other. She learned about his childhood, his relationship with his father, his dreams beyond business. He learned about her environmental passions, her graduate school ambitions, her vision for sustainable architecture. Victoria Design Group slowly rebuilt. Insurance covered most of the damage, and Dominic's company provided resources to accelerate reconstruction. Emma worked alongside her father, redesigning their office space to incorporate the green principles she'd always advocated for. Dominic recovered, though the nightmares persisted. But now when he woke gasping, Emma was there, holding him, reminding him he wasn't alone. They attended their first charity gala together 6 weeks after the wedding. Emma wore a stunning green dress, Dominic wore his tailored tux, and they moved through the room as a unit. Not performer and prop, but genuine partners. Having fun, Dominic murmured against her ear during a dance. Actually, yes, though I still prefer food trucks. Next week we'll hit every food truck in Portland. My treat. You're learning. I have a good teacher. Emma rested her head against his shoulder, feeling the solid warmth of him, the steady beat of his heart. This wasn't the marriage she'd expected. It was messy and complicated and built on a foundation of desperation rather than romance. But it was real. It was theirs, and it was worth fighting for. 3 months after their chaotic wedding, Dominic surprised Emma with a weekend trip to the coast. They stayed in a small cottage overlooking the ocean. No business meetings, no emergencies, just time together. On their last evening, as sunset painted the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Dominic took Emma's hand. I know our wedding was rushed. Transactional, not the ceremony you deserved. It's fine. We've moved past that. Humor me. Dominic knelt in the sand, pulling out a small velvet box. Emma Victoria Ashford. Will you marry me? Again. The right way this time. With both of us choosing each other freely, knowing exactly what we're getting into. Emma's vision blurred with tears. We're already married, I know. But I want to do it properly, promise you forever when I actually mean it. When I'm not terrified and sabotaging. When I'm just a man who's completely in love with his wife. Yes, Emma whispered. Yes, I'll marry you again. He slipped a new ring onto her finger. Not the one from their business arrangement, but something she'd helped design. An emerald surrounded by sustainable diamonds, reflecting her values and his commitment. They kissed as waves crashed against the shore, the Pacific wind whipping around them, the sun sinking below the horizon. This was their true beginning. Not the desperate wedding born from necessity, but the conscious choice to build something real from impossible circumstances. 6 months later, they renewed their vows in a small ceremony. Emma's family and friends present, Caroline there as a guest and friend, Dominic's business associates witnessing something they'd never expected. Dominic Ashford genuinely smiling, genuinely happy, genuinely in love. When the officiant asked if he took Emma as his wife, Dominic's voice was clear and strong. I do. Forever this time. And when Emma repeated those same words, she meant them with every fiber of her being. The reception was casual, held at a local restaurant rather than a formal venue. Food truck catering at Emma's insistence. Music and dancing and laughter. The kind of celebration that marked beginning rather than obligation. As they slow danced in the center of the room, Dominic whispered, "No regrets?" Emma thought about the chaotic wedding night, the lies and fear and desperation, the danger they'd faced, the way they'd almost destroyed something precious before it could truly begin. "Not a single one," she said honestly. "Every terrible moment led us here, made us stronger, taught us how to fight for each other. I don't deserve you. Stop saying that. You deserve happiness, Dominic. You deserve love. You deserve someone who sees past your walls to the man underneath." "Thank you," he murmured, "for seeing me, for staying, for not giving up when I gave you every reason to. Thank you for letting me in, for trusting me with your truth, for building something real from something that started as survival." They kissed as their friends and family applauded, as cameras captured the moment, as the future stretched ahead, filled with possibility. The cold millionaire who'd said he'd ended on their wedding night had indeed ended something. His isolation, his fear, his conviction that he was better off alone. And in its place, he'd built a marriage that was messy and complicated and absolutely real. 2 years later, Emma stood in the newly completed Portland Commons, the sustainable development project that had nearly cost them everything. The building gleamed in afternoon sunlight, covered in living walls and solar panels, a testament to environmental architecture and economic viability coexisting perfectly. Dominic wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "You did it. You changed how we build. Just like you said you would." "We did it," Emma corrected. "This was always a partnership." Their reflection in the glass showed a married couple, comfortable and connected. No longer the desperate strangers from a forced arrangement, but two people who'd chosen each other through fire and emerged stronger. "Ready to go home?" Dominic asked. "Always." They walked hand in hand through the building they'd created together, through doors opening onto a future they'd fought for, into a life that was exactly what they'd both needed even when neither had known it. The marriage that began with a cold proposition and nearly ended on its first night had become something neither expected. A love story, not the easy kind, not the fairy tale kind, but the real kind. The lasting kind, the kind worth every sacrifice. The end.